A military judge acquitting Private First Class Bradley Manning of the most serious charge against him, aiding the enemy. We'll have analysis right here, right now on the News Hub. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Simon Constable. Joining me now are WSJ Pentagon correspondent Julian Barnes and Elizabeth Goitein she's the co-director of Liberty and National Security at the Brennan Center for Justice. Thank you both for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Julian, let me start with you. You've been covering what's been going on here with Bradley Manning. What was your takeaway here from him not being convicted of aiding the enemy?
Well, you're right. It's a mixed verdict in that the most serious charge, aiding the enemy, there was a acquittal on. The judge had set a low bar, prompting a lot of people to think that there could be a conviction on that, but she acquitted him. Now, she did convict him on a whole host of other charges, and Bradley Manning is likely facing decades in prison. This is, in the end, the biggest conviction of a accused leaker ever, maybe. And so, while a mixed verdict, a lengthy sentence ahead, probably.
Okay, and Julian, we know the sentencing is tomorrow, and we'll have live coverage of that here at the Journal as that comes out. Elizabeth, do you think the government overreached with the aiding the enemy charge? Would they have been better off not doing it? Because the optics of this are, in some sense, that the government lost.
I think that's right. I think the government is probably not thrilled with this verdict for the reason you say. The optics are not good for the government. Of course, Bradley Manning will probably go to jail for a very, very long time. So I don't think that the optics matter as much to him. But it is the acquittal is important because a conviction on the aiding the enemy charge would have really opened the door to a frighteningly expansive use of that law to criminalize posting things on the internet, frankly.
And Elizabeth, what about precedents for future trials, future attempts to convict? And I'm thinking here of Edward Snowden, if he ever does get brought back to the U.S.
Sure. Well, this is another case in a series of cases recently in which the judge has held that the government does not have to prove bad faith on the part of the defendant in order to convict under the Espionage Act. And as recently as 2006, there was a ruling going the other way, saying that the government did have to prove bad faith. So we are starting to see the case law really depart from that, and increasingly judges are saying that a defendant's motive is irrelevant. So that certainly has implications for Edward Snowden if he cannot, raise the fact that he had no intent to harm the United States.
And to what extent do you think these verdicts and the fact that motive doesn't matter affect how people who see bad things happening in the military, whether they want to sort of whistleblow on it, if you like? And I'm thinking of, if you think the My Lai massacre back in the Vietnam War, that came out. Would such things have come out with such laws as we have on the interpretations now?
I mean, I think absolutely it's going to have a chilling effect on people who see evidence of government misconduct and want to do something about it if that evidence is classified. If it's improperly classified, they'll still feel that they're really in a bind. I'm actually not sure that the ruling will have that much of an effect on the people we want to send a strong message to, who are the actual spies and the actual traitors, because those are the people who have declared war against the United States and who are probably willing to risk criminal prosecution. So, sadly, I think it's really more likely to have an effect on the whistleblowers.
Okay, and Julian, back to you. So the government going to be doing the sentencings tomorrow, and from what I'm hearing, we haven't heard the last of Brad Manning, Julian, because there's a ton of appeals that could come, right?
What happens tomorrow is the sentencing on the lesser the charges that Manning essentially pled guilty to before, and then we're going to have a sentencing phase where the prosecution presents evidence that these leaks did damage, and that could take into August.
Okay, and then of course,
so this is only beginning. We're not going to get the definitive word on Manning tomorrow.
Okay, but we are going to get some word on him, and
Absolutely.
then we're going to hear about him for a very long time, and you will be there, we know that, covering all this for us with great insight as always. Julian Barnes of the Wall Street Journal, we thank you very much, and Elizabeth Goitein of the Brennan Center, we thank you very much too.